welcome to another episode of On the Grind with Justin Brown. It's your boy Justin here. Try to get through this one as efficiently and with as minimal sniffling as I can. If you can tell, my whole system's kind of clogged up right now with mucus or something. I don't know. It's disgusting. I just feel more backed up right now than a fat ass in the club. It's just a little bit everywhere with it on the inside. I don't know where it's coming from. Not sure if this is a crazy weather thing, but allergies are just annoying, man. Especially when like medicines don't work. Like I usually take Zyrtec for this shit, but apparently the force is strong with this one. So it's going to take a little bit more than that to, probably fix it and stuff. But that's cool, I guess. I'll figure it out. But it has been for the past couple of weeks the NBA playoff season. Very excited for this. And you know what I mean? I've been, as you guys know, in a few other episodes of the podcast, I talk about my Wizards. I'm a Wizards fan. And, I'm happy because they finally decided to show up Friday night, this past Friday in Game 3 against the Toronto Raptors. I don't know what the hell was going on when they were playing Toronto the first two games, but they got smoked. They got spanked. It was disgusting to see that whatever internal bickering and lack of defensive integrity and just things like that, it just wasn't there. And I was just watching and like, Jesus Christ, I could have been writing instead of watching this game right now. And I like writing and I like being able to do that, but I try to be a good fan. You know what I mean? At least through the playoffs, I try to watch every game because there's only but so many. And the way they've been playing these first two games, it will only be but so many fewer than that. But they finally showed up Game 3. Bradley Beal, John Wall combined for like 56 points, man. Almost 60 points between two guys, which is like truly amazing. That's them like playing up to their potential. If you follow Wizards basketball, I mean, these are the faces of the franchise. These are the guys with their heads on this on the mural on the side of Ben's Chili Bowl, next to Dave Chappelle. You know what I mean? So, like, if Dave Chappelle's up there, hometown guy, and what he represents, and Bill Cosby was up there before, these are, like, the top dudes in their field at the time they're up there. I'm not saying Bradley, Bill, and John Wall are the top dudes, but they finally showed up in Game 3 where they could garner some respect as the top backcourt in the league. Like, save for Golden State, they play like the way they played last night. There is not a better backcourt, I think, in the East. Anyway, good for them, man. I'm just happy. Happy I got to see them win and shit. You know what I mean? I could have spent that time writing, but I'm happy I got to watch that game, and it felt like it wasn't a waste of my time. Watched it with my girlfriend and shit, and she was happy. I always got to be happy because, I'm a little bit gripey. You know what I mean? I get annoyed very easily, so thankfully we didn't have that annoying of a performance last night from the team. So go Wizards! Looking out for Game 4 tomorrow, Sunday. Still at home in D.C. I'll try to show up if I can, if tickets are affordable. But you know what ticket prices in the playoffs, somebody's going to pay $50 or $60 to sit in the nosebleeds, and I mean, good for them. Whatever high-paying job they have, I am probably going to save that money for a phone bill or something. But yeah, man, it was really good to see that. Last week was interesting just on the business end of comedy for me. I only did one night of comedy last week due to a number of circumstances and factors, and just feeling a little bit deflated about comedy in the area last week. So I actually just took a week off outside of hosting on Monday at Shenanigans, Adams Morgan. If you don't know, 8 o'clock, open mic Monday. But yeah, I had to take a week off for me and just do some reflecting, some thinking, try to figure myself out a little bit. And I think I did fairly well, being able to contemplate and reflect on some things. So I'm happy about that. Got back in the swing of things this week with Shenanigans and then Purple Lounge and that's a regular Tuesday mic I do. And then Wednesday I ended up doing a show of Raise One Up, with the Black Market Cartel with raising money for Raise One Up. So organization or some kind of fundraiser where they're raising money for arts programs, either in Montgomery County or DC, one of the two. But either way, it was a good cause. I had hosted there before, but this time I just did a regular spot and did fairly well. Did fairly friggin' well. And you know, I'm a very harsh critic. Most people are their own worst critic, but I'm happy with what I was able to do on the stage. But off the stage, oh my God, I'm so pissed at myself. I didn't record a single thing, and I had a solid ass set, man. I don't try to give myself too much credit when it comes to comedy because I always feel I can work harder. But that set made me feel good. And to know I didn't get a chance to record it in video or audio made me want to go off myself in the parking lot. At the same time, after I got over those little stupid suicidal thoughts, it was like, okay, just build up from there, man. That's all you got to do. And that's part of the game. Can't hang your hat on your last set too much. But regardless of how it goes, whether it went real well or real bad, it's all about what have you done for me lately. So I am going to try to redeem myself tonight, hitting the mic and continue on, keeping fighting the good fight and all that good stuff. And one thing I tried to do last week that I think's been going well, I'm gonna try to move forward with. I was speaking on taking a week off except for Monday to work on writing and figuring myself out just as a person, how I want to be on stage and goals and whole bunch of this internal stuff I think I needed to figure out. I realized how much of an overthinker I am. And if you're an overthinker, you might be able to tell. You might know you are. Sometimes I forget I'm an overthinker somehow. If I'm thinking as much, I don't know how I would forget stuff. But if you ever just end up in a situation where you get stuck on thinking on what's the next best move, instead of just letting things be natural, like I'm trying to learn how to do on this podcast and hosting it and stuff, you get hung up very easily and you get almost stuck on not knowing what to do. You can come up with so many options. You're going to think about what the next best one is or something goofy. Just dude, stop thinking about the shit and just do it. Let it flow. What is it, Bruce Lee said, become like water. You know what I mean? If it's in a cup, it becomes the shape of the cup. If it's in a river, it flows like a river. If it's doing other stuff, you do the other stuff with it and just going with the flow. And I think that's something very critical I was able to realize last week, just within myself and how much I overthink, and trying that approach, watching some kung fu movies and hurting my shin, practicing some kicks, made me really realize how much sometimes I just need to stop getting hung up on thoughts and letting things flow. So, very good introspective week for me last week that I'm going to use I wanted to share with you guys in case, if anything is applicable to you. And that I'm going to try to use moving forward more focused, in a focused way. Where I'm always just going to try to keep that in mind and not try to stress myself out too much over thoughts and stuff. So hopefully that comes across in the podcast. Hopefully it comes across in any shows you might see me at, or just off stage talking to me on life, whatever, man. Whether it's after a show talking to me, or I don't know, talking to me if you're a cop and trying to arrest me for some racial bullshit. I know you guys do it, so stop. It's not worth it. You're better than that. Blah, blah, blah. Don't know where that came from, but, that's always there, too. Always agitated about something. Anyway, before I get too out of focus, go ahead and get this episode started. Our sponsor this week is AutoZone. Not actually the company. I just bought some products from them today that worked, and shout out to AutoZone for when my favorite Mexican car wash is backed up by the gazillions of cars on a hot summer's day. AutoZone has stuff I can go pick up and wash my car with. So if you're working for AutoZone or wants to shout me out or know somebody can hook me up, please do. Happy to support AutoZone as long as they don't racially profile black people. And I think there's enough black people in their stores working there and as patrons where, at least locally, that hasn't seemed to be a problem. All right, but anyway, we're going to go ahead and get this episode started. My guest this week is a friend of mine in comedy. I met her a few years ago when I was starting out. And actually, I was about several months into the game when I came across her when she was first starting out. We met early on in her stand-up comedy career, but she's been very active in the art scene in a number of different ways. She has a history of improv behind her, a history of singing, and a whole bunch of other things you're about to find out. And she's like one of my aunts in comedy, my Asian auntie, good old Davine Ker. So we're going to go ahead and talk to Davine today and, sit down and have an in-depth conversation for once, because a lot of times we talk as comedians, it's just back of the room, like, hey, how are you? If we're cordial or we're cool with one another, do a little bit of checking in, but I never actually got to sit down and really get to know Davine at this level, and I'm happy I was able to do this conversation. So let's get into it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, guys, welcome back to the On the Grind podcast with Justin Brown. This is your host, Justin Brown. And today, our guest is a good friend of mine, Davine Ker. Davine, go ahead.
Hey, how are you?
You talking to me?
I'm talking to everybody.
Oh, okay. What's going on, Davine? All right, yeah. Davine, I've met through stand-up, but Davine, go ahead and tell people what you're about. What are you into?
I'm into stand-up comedy. I also do storytelling. I've started with improv, so I still do that sometimes also. I'm a visual artist. I do commission work. I paint and sculpt. Yep. And I'm also a musician, so I do live music once in a while. I co-host a visual art podcast called Urban Lens at Listen Vision Studio. I'm a contributing columnist for Bliss Magazine. I don't know what else I do. I do some acting too sometimes. If you check on IMDb, I do have 2 short films and several commercials. I'm trying to be everywhere. It's like gardening. You just plug it in everywhere and see what blooms.
Holy shit. That's a lot more than you just told me.
Well, I don't know. We weren't recording, so I was like, I'm not.
Oh, no, it's fine. That is a hell of a lot of stuff. Hopefully we can squeeze it all in there. I didn't know you were a writer, though. I think I saw you painting before. I didn't know you sculpted, too.
Yeah. Well, I don't sculpt as much as I would like to, because I sculpt the Indiana rock. Like, each piece takes like 72 hours to sculpt, and, with kids and everything. I don't have all the equipment I have to, but I used to sculpt more when I was in Canada.
Like sculpt pots, or are you talking about like...
Sculpture, like Michelangelo, like chisel.
Oh, you serious?
Yeah, like the real rocks.
What's your most prized art piece you've ever created?
Well, it's a relief. It's a zebu. It's like a Cambodian cow with an elephant. So it looks like a tomb. It's just a little wink to like the Cambodian genocide. I come from Cambodia, and we're Cambodian refugees. And anyways, so when people hear Cambodia, they think about Angkor Wat, which is all about stone and sculpture. So I wanted to connect with my ancestor. That's why I started doing rock sculpture.
Damn. All right. So not only is she the Cambodian queen of comedy de facto, she's also just a multi-talented artist. I didn't know you had that much going on. Okay.
That's what happens when you don't have toys growing up.
True.
I didn't have cable. I didn't have toys. My parents were super strict. I couldn't go out. I couldn't do anything. So what do you do when you're locked inside of a room? You
Homework?
Go insane. Well, not even homework. I painted. I drew. I do everything. Just
Jesus.
Hold
on. Did you have to go to school growing up, or was it?
Yeah.
Did you grow up here, or did you grow up?
I grew up in Canada.
Canada. Okay.
Yeah.
So you went through the Canada public school system.
I actually went to private school my whole life, except for college, and then but everything in French.
Okay, and so she speaks French as well. You just got back from
Montreal recently, yeah.
Yes. What were you doing up in Montreal?
Well, I visited family, but also I did some comedy shows at the Comedy Works, Comedy Nest, and the Bordel. I did my first French set for the first time.
Like completely in French.
Completely in French, and not just French Quebecer, like with the Quebecer slang.
Okay, so like only the natives would know.
Yeah.
The jargon you use. How'd it go? How long were you up there?
It went well. It went well, all things considered, but I forgot they were kind of racist still. Like they're not as woke as here.
White racists or who?
Yeah, because I had a convenience store. Surprise, us Asians. But anyways,
holy shit.
So I didn't feel the racism as much because people knew me, but I forgot that cold turkey, when they don't know you in any context, then it's a lot of ching chong jokes. Like, I felt some resistance while I was telling my jokes, and I thought I was paranoid because I never used the race card. But when the guy went after me, he spent 3 minutes of his set doing Asian jokes, like hacky jokes, like we never see Asian mailmen, but if we did, there would be like some egg rolls in a mailbox. Like, it's not even funny. Like, it's just plain stupid.
That sounds delicious, honestly.
Anyways, and when people were laughing like crazy, I thought, oh wow, okay, this is what's going on. Even though, I mean, racism towards Asians here still exists too, but it's like it's almost like an invisible issue. People still think it's okay to make fun of Asians. It's not okay to make fun of any other race, and if you did it the other way around.
Yeah.
But it's there. Mean, but in Quebec, it was really harsh for that one.
I mean, well, in terms of, I guess, racism towards Asians here, unless you have like a serious beef, it's more so the jokey kind of, I think, hacky kind of stuff still too.
Yeah, well, it depends. It depends. It depends for what. Towards guys, the whole small dick thing, being geeks and all. But for women, though, it's dangerous because when you talk about intersectionality,
sure,
Asian female comics that are Asian we're dealing with like racism, yes, for the hack stuff, but it also crossed with rape culture because a lot of stereotypical things about Asian women are like quiet.
Meek,
it feeds
like,
exactly the zero consent, and if not, you have to tame. I don't know.
That's a lot.
I know that's not a topic you wanted to cover, but. No, basically, but you felt it a lot more in Montreal because people don't really censor themselves. Like they sounded like if our grandmas, how they talk, our grandparents.
Yeah, they're like, lot less. Filtered.
Yeah, they're like one generation behind as far as wokeness. So it was interesting. True. It was still nice, but now I'm better geared. I'm going back in July, and I'm gonna like attack them differently. I'm taking a different strategy.
You're gonna have some anti-white dude jokes.
I'm gonna call them out on their bullshit.
If you want them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you them off the air because I ain't stealing them. For the two people that listen to this podcast, please don't steal my jokes. Alright, I guess you gotta get back to a lighter note for a moment. So, yes, with all the things that you do, we're probably going to focus on, let's start with stand-up and I guess storytelling. Did you start getting into those about the same time you started getting into art?
I did stand-up before.
Okay.
I did stand-up before, and I was also doing musical improv.
How old are you? Or like, is it college? Or you're like
stand-up? Stand-up is, I'm fairly new at it, like it's been like in less than 5 years. Like,
okay.
Yeah, I just passed my 3-year mark actually for stand-up.
Okay, and you got into that, how come?
Well, it was a bet. Actually, I used to be part of a mommy group.
Okay.
And literally called the Desperate Housewife of Loudoun County.
Hey.
I started my own IT company, and then after that I got pregnant, so I decided to like stay home. So I could work from home and then raise the kids at the same time. And then I was part of this mommy group, and they were just jerks, and the women were so bitter. Every time we met, they were talking about which person had the most expensive tree or which fridge or which, I don't know. And another lady would like not get laid. Like she won't sleep with her husband unless he builds her more shelves, and like really weird dynamic. And I didn't fit in that. And then my kids started getting beat up. Like they were always excluding the Asians. Like you would see like 5 to 10 blonde kids attacking the Asian kids, like, boo, get out of there. And I thought, okay, and I thought, I don't want to expose my kids to that. Like, this is not, and then people were attacking me anyways. They said, Davine, boys will be boys. And I'm like, no, assholes will be assholes. If I wanted them to beat up people, I would take them to a martial art class, but this is supposed to be fun for them. So I left the group, and then I got really pissed. I talked to my friend.
Yeah.
And then she said, well, what do you want to do? Because I said, I'm tired of being around people who are dumb. Like, and she said, well, you need like-minded people, so what would you like to do? And I said, comedy. So she said, do something. So the next day, I found a meetup group that did improv.
What's the name of the group? Are they still
no, well, it was called, it didn't have a name yet. It was just improv in Centerville.
Okay.
And then when we practiced, after a while, they asked how many people wanted to perform like on a stage and be more serious.
Sure.
And then we became 52 pickups. And then we had more drama than there were talent in there. Like, so many stories, but not enough stage time. And I got frustrated, and then we turned into Nacho Problem. So that's the troupe now. If you look on the Facebook page, it's called Nacho Problem.
Okay.
And I'm part of that. We practice as much as we can, but it's like herding cats sometimes. It's really hard. One girl has a law firm that she just launched, and another one just got pregnant. And so, it's really hard to meet up. But anyways, I did a lot of improv with them.
Yeah.
And then one time we booked a show called... So You Think You're Funny with Pat Coffee. It was like at that Greek restaurant.
Oh, Pat Coffee, I love him.
I think you were on that show. And I saw Yoshi there that night and Mark. Anyways, there's a bunch of people that I recognize now.
Yeah.
And we were the improv troupe that were the intermission. Oh, D'Angelo was there too. And I forgot. There's a lot of people now that I recognize. And so when I saw the improv show then, the stand-up, I mean.
Yeah.
That's when I got home and I wrote a set. I said, hey, I want to do that too.
Okay.
So.
And then how long until you wrote that?
I wrote
that and when you got on stage?
I gave myself 3 months to write all the jokes, and then I started with Stand Up To Go with Kurt Shackelford.
Okay.
So I was a Kurt baby. People say that when they start with him. Anyway, so I did the first 3 shows with him, and after that, actually the 4th time I ever did stand-up, that's when I met you. And it was at Jose Grill.
Oh, that place. Jesus.
I know. And then I complimented you on a cardigan, and then you went up right before me, and after that, for 3 shows in a row, you were always the comic right before me.
That was your good luck charm.
I know. You were like that stone. Like I'm like, okay, this guy is like good people. So
appreciate it. Okay, hold on. So I was there your first time on stage?
The third, fourth time.
Fourth time. Okay.
I did the first 3 shows with Kurt, and after that, found out about Alex Starr, and then continued with him. And exactly, yep. Shout out to Alex. Okay. That's great that he helped like newbies, because otherwise, back then.
Yeah, I mean he still does. He just put on a show yesterday at Fire Station, so he's in between here and New York still. But yeah, shout out to him. Like Alex Brown, former guest on the show too. Just you put a lot of us on early on, so we always do appreciate that. Right. Okay, and in terms of, I guess, the storytelling then, you said that started before the stand-up, or is that about the same time? Or
I was already doing stand-up, and then after that, I joined Laugh Index Theater, and then they had some workshops for improv and musical improv.
Sure.
And while I performed there, I met this guy named Michael Zhuang, part of the troupe. He's a storyteller, and he happened to host a story short slam, which is a competition. Okay. First prize gets $100, second prize gets $50. So he invited me on the show, and that was fun. I won on the second show, the second time I went there.
Oh, damn.
And then somebody from The Moth, named Mojde Araziaspor. I'm sorry, Mojde, I don't know if I can pronounce her last name properly, but she was there, and she asked me, hey, have you ever heard of The Moth, which is a storytelling group that comes from New York. Okay. And they're like nationwide, and they're on NPR and everything. And so she invited me over to perform at the Howard Theater.
That's where I've seen them. Okay.
Yeah, and then so that's when I've started performing there too. So I've done some stand-up mostly, and storytelling once in a while when I can. I mean, because the show format, they have a theme every month. Yeah. So if you have a story that fits the theme, then you go and submit. So what I like about it is because it challenges you to write a new content each time. With stand-up, you do your set.
Right.
And you grow it, of course.
Yeah.
But for stand-up, for storytelling, you never know. I don't know. I think
kind of like one and done. Like once you've done it, you can't go back to it with the.
Well, you can reuse it because some themes. There's different. There's so many different. Groups that do storytelling, right? There's Perfect Liars Club. There's the Moth, Perfect Liars Club, Better Said Than Done, Stoop in Baltimore. There's a lot of groups, and people don't know enough about storytelling, which is not necessarily the same thing as stand-up. There's Story District, of course. I forgot the main big one. Okay. That's like the DC Improv of storytelling. Oh, but so you can reuse stuff, and it's a different discipline completely.
Sounds like it.
You can't just do jokes and you need an arc, and it's a whole story from the beginning till the end. It has to be also true.
Jesus, that is that a newer, I guess, form of it? I mean, storytelling obviously been around for a while, but I guess like competitive or group or whatever the classification is for that style of storytelling, is that fairly new?
I honestly don't know about this. I mean, the first time I ever heard about it was 4 years ago. Okay. I went to a storytelling at the 930 Club. It was for Valentine's Day. It's called Sucker for Love, and that's under the umbrella of Story District. And I thought it was so great. But what's great about that also is they don't expect you to be funny, so when you do tell a joke, it's like, and the audience is like, we're talking about 500 people in the audience.
That is completely different from stand-up.
Well, I was at the Lincoln Theater because I was a Story Slam champion last year. Okay. Not champ. One of the winner. So then you perform at the Lincoln Theater, and that was like 1,200 people. That was amazing.
Damn. Oh, so what's the biggest crowd you've ever been in front of? I've been
1,200. Yeah, that's. I think that's it.
That is about 10 times as big as the biggest group I've ever been in front of. Holy shit! How do you keep your composure with that? Is that something you were already just comfortable from doing other arts and stuff in front of that 1,200 group, or how?
You know what's great about storytelling is that it's you. Only you know the story, so no one knows if you messed up. Like it's not. Fair. It's your story. I mean, it's it's more of a flow, but it's you. Yeah. It's raw, and the people who go watch storytelling are not the same audience necessarily that go see stand up.
Yeah.
They don't. They go there.
Wanting something different.
Well, it's for people who like reality TV or true story or Lifetime. Like it's heart wrenching. It doesn't have storytelling is not always funny. Like you go there and people share their stories about rape story. There's different. It's really raw, but it's really sincere. Okay. And that's why I like it a lot because with stand up, it's just different art form.
Yeah, I feel like with stand up, at least you have to be. Not only do you have to be entertaining, you have to be, I guess, entertaining in a certain way.
Yeah. So
it sounds like storytelling is a little bit more freeing for you than,
Well, yes and no. What I know is that storytelling does help with stand-up because it adds a frame to it. So then, if you're used to doing storytelling, there's this rhythm.
Yeah.
Telling the story, right? There's an intro, and there's a character, there's a conflict, there's a resolution, and then a conclusion. If you can put jokes inside of there, then it gives you a frame. It's not just random jokes. Yeah. A lot of stand-up comedians that are great storytellers, like Mike Birbiglia is the best example. I like him a lot, and his whole format is very storytelling based. George Carlin was telling story. Richard Pryor, Chris Rock does a lot of storytelling.
Have you heard of Ali Sadiq?
I'm not familiar. Well, I've seen his name, but I never listened to his set actually.
He's from Texas. Just dropped a new special on Comedy Central as well, probably in February.
Right.
But me and my girl saw him back when he was in DC at the Improv for the first time in February. Heard him on his CDs, great stories in person. It's even better. Like he's up there with like Bill Cosby for me almost in terms of being able to tell a story and just sell it.
Right.
And be a long story with just a few jokes in it, but you're entertained the whole way. Like it's a very commendable thing because I think about like just trying to write a set and like how do I make this joke last longer than a minute?
Right.
That's difficult on its own. Where you're talking like a 20-minute story.
Well,
and telling that on stage, like one story from start to end, having to punch that up, layer it up, get into details,
and then with a callback and wrap it up with a bow.
All that, it's like an incredible amount of discipline. Like how are you able to get to that level of discipline and being able to not only be a good storyteller but like win stuff? You know what I mean? So obviously a good enough storyteller if you're like winning things and being able to entertain a group of 1,200. How do you develop that level of discipline to be able to do that, you think?
I don't know if discipline for me is the right thing because I love it so much and I have so many stories I want to share. Like I coming from multiple background, like I'm a double level immigrant, like we left Cambodia and then after that I wrote in Canada,
right? And
I came here and I just have so many stories that I want to share and I always feel like there's not enough stage time, and I just wish we had longer sets too. Like for stand up. It's mostly like 5 minutes if you do open mics, 7 on different ones, and then when sometimes they give you 10 or 15 when you feature, right? And then I've headlined sometimes, but my most was 45 minutes. No, actually 50. Yeah, but
about an hour.
Yeah, but it was like West Virginia, so I don't want to discredit it. It was great. It was an hour, but it was an interesting night. But I'm just saying we don't get a lot of chance to do a long set.
Yeah.
And for storytelling, it's your life, so it makes sense. But for stand-up, it's I just wish we had more occasion to grow it and quilt all your jokes together. Because sometimes, what's scary when you do a long set in stand-up is, did I already tell that joke? Because you've been talking for 30 minutes, you can't keep track of everything, and I'm like, my biggest fear when I do a long set is like, did I repeat myself? Because that would be the worst. They just look at you like, hey, senile. Like I don't know.
True. So I guess you don't. Are you a person that structures what you're going to say before you get on stage for stand-up?
I try, but then once you're on there, sometimes you add stuff. I mean, I go with I write some keywords, like a set list of a certain flow.
Okay.
Some jokes that I already done, but when I listen to all my previous recordings, they're never quilted the same way. Like they don't come in the same order necessarily. Sometimes based on the previous set, like the comic that went before me, then I'll respond to his, and then it makes me start at the middle of my set, that like my joke number 15 instead of my first one normally. So it reshifts everything. So you never know what's going to happen, even if it's the same joke. That's what's great about it. It's like a dance.
And I think that's just a good practice to do anyway.
Right.
I forget. I've heard this plenty of times from like listening to professional comedians, like people I look up to and stuff, just talking about it's good to switch the order of your set around because it always introduces possibly a new way for a segue,
exactly,
tags and things like that. Keeps the material fresh, keeps you on your toes,
right?
And just allows for a more organic experience. And I think that's dope. You did that without even having to have to hear it from someone else first. Just doing that on your own. That's not something I would have naturally thought of because I'm a person that needs that kind of like I need to know when I'm starting at and where I'm getting to and all the directions. Like I have to have map quest printed out before I get on stage. Otherwise, I'm going to be crashing into some shit.
But there's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, I think it's like art. Any art, people all have different process. Whatever works with you, but we just have to allow to break rules. I mean, they say learn the rules first so you can break them later, right? So
yeah, I mean that's what I try to do. It would be nice. because it sounds like you're super comfortable on stage. It sounds like you're very comfortable with just art and expression in general. I think that's something that's definitely not common in the comedy scene here. And I'm not sure if it's because you have like an art upbringing, or that's just naturally you, or you do other arts which made you, you know, maybe more comfortable with a little bit of chaos to it. But well, they all
cross. That. You know, every art has a cadence. It's like it's a rhythm.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
So even when I compose music, that's why I try to play with my set more and more too. I try to do the equivalent. Like if it was music, which rhythm would it have, right?
Okay. So can you give me an example?
Well, you know, like music. Let's say when you start as a comic, right?
Sure.
You have this set up punchline. So let's say you tell jokes, it would be like. Gotcha. But you see the real pros, they're like jazz. It's not Justin Bieber beat anymore. It's not just predictable like verse and then chorus. Like in music, it becomes jazz. It's more like even in the music, when you listen to it, the cadence is different. So that's what I'm trying to work on, just to add colors and textures. Just like even in visual art, when you do painting, there's stuff that look like flea market or like art 101. But when you look at the real artists that are masters, they have different layers and they surprise you. There's always a surprise element, right?
And that's what you go for?
Well, that's what I thrive for. Doesn't mean I reached it. I'm just saying that's what I'm working on now. It's hard.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's my goal. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Is there a reason? Well, I guess you might have touched this one already. But is there a reason why you prefer it to be more musically than anything else?
I think it's just how I approach art in general. I like a whole multi-dimension. I like imagery. I like rhythm. I like connection with the audience. That's why I love storytelling, because you really connect. People really know you. When you do storytelling, it's required for it to be truthful. You know, when you do stand-up, people can still say, "Oh, that was just a joke."
Right.
But when you do stand-up, when you leave the stage, people really come and hug you and say, I had no idea this is how you grew up. Like there's something that makes you vulnerable.
People do that to you after stand-up?
No, storytelling.
Oh, okay.
But if I can bring that rawness also to stand-up, which a lot of people are afraid of being vulnerable in that way. But that's what I like about storytelling is and that connection you get with the audience.
Yeah.
If you can reach that for stand-up, I think it's really a big key, because when people care about you leave, it's not just jokes, it's like this is who that person was.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you leave with something extra for the audience.
Yeah, because, sorry, so disclaimer, excuse me.
Right.
I believe I give out the best secondhand advice in terms of I digest information, sometimes to a default. But I try to listen to as many like professional comedians and things, to get the best advice. Not even comedians, just like professionals who are great in their field for things. And that to say, in terms of just being memorable on stage, right? You can go up there, at least in stand-up comedy, you can say a lot of jokes. That doesn't guarantee people are going to remember you. If you look up, if the people you look up to generally in whatever field you're in, your favorite artists, whether they're stand-up or sculptors or whatever, they're usually people that have a message or a point to their art, and that's what people can sink their teeth into. Like, you can know someone's funny, but a lot of people are just funny probably just from life. There are very few people that can be funny and mean something to you at the same time. And that's, again, something I find commendable about your approach to art. A lot of people might not have the mindset to do that, but I think... Well,
I try. I mean, like they say in French, I still have a lot of crumbs to eat until I get until the bread loaf, but I'm just telling you, that's what I aspire to.
In terms of, I guess, just creation itself, so you have a lot of different mediums to create, so obviously that's all coming from somewhere.
Right.
Where does all of that energy and where does the motivation come from? And then on top of that, what are your more consistent subjects that you create from or on in all of your art? So like if there's a consistent like part of your life that you pull from that you can use in any different medium that you love to create with, is there one in particular that stands out to you? Or
well, my family story is my first vessel. I mean, I don't know if you heard about how we escaped Cambodia.
Oh, I mean, do tell.
I mean, so in 1975, the communists took over, right? And they assassinated my whole father's family. We're the last Kers in Cambodia. And and then I grew up in Montreal, and we had a convenience store, and people always assumed that we were poor or, like if we have a little store.
Really?
They don't know that. Yeah, a lot of people would come to me, like I would read a book and they say like, oh wow, you're pretending to be smart, and I'm like, dude, I went to college school.
What?
Yeah, I get a lot of there's a lot of prejudice and stereotypes, about Asians and everything, and I could never tell people like, no, like my father was like military family, and that's why I love the movie Coming to America, right? Because
Really?
I can really relate to Prince of Zamunda because he. Like he's still classy even when he takes the trash out. Like,
I thought you were saying you came to America to sow your royal oats, but that's what I thought.
No, but what I mean is, oh my god, I feel like I'm all over the place, but I have so many things I want to talk about. But I'm just saying, like, for example, people here, like especially in DC,
sure.
in Loudoun County, people focus a lot on money, and they say, oh, this is power. You have money, and to me that never really meant anything because I know directly royal family from Cambodia who lost everything from the war and live in an apartment. Are they less classy people?
Damn.
No, because it's not about what you have in your bank account. It's really about your manners, your way of life, how you, like noble, always noble. It's not snob. This is not even about like social status. It's just, what you've learned.
How you carry yourself
How you carry yourself, how you treat other people. They don't have anything to prove. They already know where they came from. And even if they live in a small shit house, driving, whatever, it doesn't matter, So that's the kind of way I was brought up. And anyways, but when we left Cambodia, anyways, back to that story, we were 4 on a bicycle. I was a baby in my mom's sling.
Yeah.
My brother was in a steering wheel and my father pedaled through the Cambodian jungle.
Where was your mom?
In the back on the luggage compartment.
Oh shit.
And there's just so much. I don't even know how much time you have, but so
Where's yours?
My dad just changed a tire, right? And then when we pedaled, there was a guy that walked from the opposite side with a brand new tire, and he offered my father, like, do you want a tire? My dad said, I don't need one. We just packed, we just left and it's a brand new bike. Well, about 2 hours later, the front tire popped. So my dad was like, we'll have to turn around. And then they caught up and they found the guy. And my grandma had a brilliant idea from there were 2 groups of people. Anyways, I have too many details, but they thought of boiling some rice inside of a teapot.
Sure.
So that if they carry it, the communists would just think it's just water. But it was actually rice, and they hid their gold at the bottom. So that's what they used to like buy everything. And
nice.
So they used that gold to buy a new tire. When my dad replaced it, the people who were biking with us, because there were a bunch of groups of people escaping, they all got assassinated. And then we went through the border, and the people behind us got assassinated. So basically, that bike that popped saved our life.
Holy
so that's why one of my art projects, my first painting that I did, was called The Lucky Bicycle. So it illustrates my family escape. So I always felt like... That's why I always felt like I had a purpose for something, like I needed to do something. If it's not to talk about... So, my parents always made fun of me. They said we didn't flood the Cambodia in the jungle and risk our life because, a lot of babies... were crying in the jungle. That's how they would find a family. But I had my mom's breast in my mouth the whole time, and I was quiet. Like I was the only quiet baby. I didn't make a peep. And my mom always said that we didn't escape Cambodia for you to become a clown and a stand-up. You were supposed to be a doctor or something like that. So I responded to my mom and said, no, I did not escape Cambodia and survive all of this for me to do something that's not in the public scene.
Fair. Damn, damn. No wonder you're winning challenges or competition and shit. That's a hell of a story.
Yeah, that's a portion. If you knew about... It was so crazy. When I came back to Montreal recently, my dad told me more stuff like I never knew before. Like I did not know my sister died in my dad's arms. I did not know that my grandfather had to wear his military outfit and he had to walk in the street in his military uniform, and they told him that the king was there, but he was walking towards his death, and when he got there, they shot him.
Damn.
It's just really... So basically now you have an idea of why I have a lot of anger and a lot of things I need to say and a lot of...
Yeah, you have like an internal muse.
Yeah, exactly. Like I have like hours and hours to draw from, and to try to write comedy around that. Storytelling works because then I don't have to tell jokes. But so I start with that first, and then from there I see what I can do with jokes. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, talk about a powerful story. That is... Jesus. Oh, wow. All right. And they say DC is rough because you know... The rent prices are high. At least you don't have to escape anybody. That is...
Oh yeah, no, it's good. But
Damn. Okay. All right. Is there? I guess what other? I mean, that's a lot to draw from.
I know,
right?
I know. So, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, that's deep. Like, just thinking about, war and just, like, following war and, like, the stuff that's going on with Syria right now.
Well,
like,
right now it's crappy in Cambodia, too. I'm really upset because China wants to turn it back into a communist country.
We're losing a democracy.
It's just insane,
I mean, it's crazy just thinking about, like, how, like, bigger countries kind of just completely will do what they want to a degree. They're very cavalier about how they treat the smaller ones, whether they're neighbors or, like, they have interest in across the seas and stuff. And that, damn. It's just, hearing that story about Cambodia and, like, your family, maybe just think about what Syria and what's going on and stuff.
Right.
It's heavy stuff to think about, but at the same time, like, to keep it, I guess, in the perspective of comedy and creation, like Richard Pryor, for example.
Right.
One of the biggest, if not, to me, he's the best stand-up that ever existed on the public scene.
But he had rough like, topics.
Yeah, right. I mean, I've got, like, 3 of his books over there.
Right.
And, like, each one, you could tell, like, he had something strong to pull from because he went through so many traumatic things. Growing up in Peoria with his mom, being a prostitute, his grandma being a madam in a brothel, and sexual harassment, like all the stuff he faced.
Right.
That's just heavy stuff to pull from. I guess are there any brighter spots from your life you try to pull from, or is it all? Let me start with the heavy and then see what I can.
Actually, I started with the bright and the light thing too. When I started stand-up, I was delusional. Because
we all? It's like, do you think?
No, but hear me out on this one.
Is arrogance.
I was so delusional because I was afraid. Because my family's very known in Cambodia.
Okay.
They're really known, like
it's safe to go back now, known or.
Well, when I do go back, I mean, I'm talking about like I don't go through security and the military. My grandfather, when he went to a restaurant, they would leave the restaurant so he could sit alone. Like people talk about money, I had.
Oh shit.
I can't say it out loud, but anyways, so I was afraid. If I did stand up, that I would say the wrong thing and it would offend. So I used to tell a friend, I said, I don't want to offend Cambodia because first of all, we don't have any female stand-up comedian yet in America. I'm the first.
Do you have any male stand-up comedians? I don't.
Cambodian, some. I met some on a showcase. I did a first showcase.
Like international comedians? Like they're not only in Cambodia. Like they're outside of Cambodia. Doing
not really.
Thing.
No, not.
Okay, so I mean, really, besides, you're like an actual. In Cambodian comedian. Just being
exactly.
The female part, like you're kind of it.
Well, there's other guys, but they're not really performing. They're not grinding as hard. Like, we're all fairly new.
Yeah.
But
are they on your level in terms of where
please don't make
get to? No, you're.
If they're listening, I don't want
to. You're Cambodian Richard Pryor.
Well, at least right now. The first Cambodian American showcase ever happened last year when they launched the movie called First I Killed My Father on Netflix. It was an Angelina Jolie who produced it.
Okay.
And they made me headline, so.
Made you headline? Yeah. I think you earned it, and
I should have said I got to headline, and it was really great. So.
Okay, yeah, you're the number one Cambodian stand-up, then at least in America. So wear that title with pride. Stop hiding behind shit. I know, but you're not a person that likes to gloat, I don't think, but I will gloat for you. No.
Thank you. But what I wanted to say is I was delusional because I was afraid I was going to upset Cambodia if I said something wrong.
Like what kind of stuff?
Anything. I'm a woman. You're not even supposed to, like... Look, I mean, I came from a super conservative family where I cannot... the type of comments I had growing up was, she's so stubborn, she's going to want to choose her own husband. So from that and who I am on the stage talking openly and bold... I mean, it's day and night. Like, this is not what Cambodia is used to and expect from their woman, So anyways, when I started, I was afraid of, the type of backlash from the community.
Sure.
Because they have comedians in Cambodia, but it's more slapstick. It's more sketch comedy.
Vaudevillian, kind of?
Like, it's not stand-up. It's comedy, but it's more like,
Like
like
Chaplin and Marx Brothers kind of stuff.
Baseball bat hitting. Exactly. And, like, you slept with this, like... A lot of cheating jokes, a lot of...
They're like 70 years behind this in comedy.
Yeah, but stand-up, I mean, they're starting. There's some scene.
Okay.
But it's not, but the ones that are in Cambodia stay there and, they don't really travel or do...
Does it depend on, like, the laws? There's, like, do you think there's a stand-up scene possibly developing there because the laws are becoming a little bit more liberal and open towards that? Or are they...
Yes and no. It's That's a whole nother topic because the Cambodia I know is through my parents, and I need to know it from my eyes. And my parents, the Cambodia they know is since '79.
Okay.
You understand? There's
since they left.
Yeah, since they left, and everything's changed. Like even the diaspora who left Cambodia, even the recipes that my parents have, barely exist still in Cambodia. Because everyone who left during the communists, it was all the intellectuals and people in power and rich. And
so they exterminated the whole culture, not even just people. Just
there's a lot of things that I need to discover when I go back. But I just also, there's a lot of stuff that my parents didn't expose me to because they were afraid I would. Anyway, there's really so many topics. Like social classes are different over there. There's no middle class. So there's a lot of Cambodians that I couldn't even talk to.
Yeah.
Like my family are kind of snobbish in that way. So when I went to Long Beach, that was a huge new world for me because I saw Cambodians.
Long Beach?
Because there's a huge community there. It's on top of Chinatown. They have Khmer Town. It's a Cambodian town.
Oh shit! Okay.
Like I walked outside, like they have a bridal store, and it's not like the white dress. It's Cambodian like wedding dresses.
So probably a lot more beautiful than the traditional white shit here. I'm imagining.
It's all different. I like both. But what I'm saying is like it's all Cambodia. Like I was never immersed in around that many Cambodians. To see them walk out of the street and pick up a Cambodian dish at the restaurant. Like there are Cambodian clubs there, like music club, and white people go there dressed as like even white people want to be Cambodian there. I mean that was really dope. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, I'm not Cambodian enough, so I need to go back. But
did anybody recognize you with the name? Like I'm Davine.
The older people
Ker.
know. Well, it's the older generation. Yeah. Because my family so that's why I was saying. Oh, so that's what sheet. Weird accent.
It's all good.
That's where I was going with this. When I said I was delusional when I started comedy, and I was afraid I would offend Cambodia, my friend told me, Davine, if Cambodia hears about you, that means you made it. Otherwise, no one will know. So that's when, because it's true, right? Like you only offend them if your
hometown.
Yeah. But I'm like, I just start. Nobody hears you. You're like nobody when you start. So that's why I'm okay now. So we'll see. I won't have to deal with it yet.
That's respectable. Okay, so like in terms of, we touched on this a little bit before the podcast. In terms of what motivates you and what kind of message you want to have in your comedy or your storytelling and things like that. Like obviously you want to tell your story, your experience. You want to represent Cambodia, come across in a good light, not only for yourself but for like the country. And
right.
Sort of be like an activist for that. What would you say you're like a full-fledged activist then, or?
I'd like to get more involved. I mean, last Monday I was invited to be a speaker for the anti-harassment week, anti-street harassment week, with the Me Too movement and everything. That was a confirmation of why I'm doing comedy. I was like, if I wasn't doing comedy, people wouldn't have invited me to speak. And that really told me, like, this is why I'm doing this. To be able to have a platform and a voice and not be an advocate for any cause. Not just Cambodia either, but...
Yeah. I mean, this was you said Washington, D.C., right? Where was it?
Yeah, it was at Freedom Plaza on Monday.
Okay. And this covered... You said it wasn't about Cambodia. It was about anti-harassment. So
anti-street harassment.
So who put the event on?
Oh my gosh, the list is long. Let me go back to.
So it was like multiple groups. You said, right?
Well, it was put on by Collective Action for Safe Spaces, No Justice, No Peace, Black Lives Matter DC Coalition Against Domestic Violence, Black Youth Project, and then the comedians were me, Davine Ker, and then Nikki Fuse and Chelsea. Short. I don't know what I was going to say. Anyways, and then there were some music performers too. It was a great event.
Okay.
Yes.
How often do you do events like that, or?
I think a good every 3 months. Like I do a fundraiser for children. I used to host a fundraiser last year for Caring for Cambodia.
Yeah.
So that lasted about a year. So every time people came and ate and supported the comedy, the proceeds went to the children. And for the year that I was there, we raised enough money to build 4 irrigation system in schools for children. So that was a great
nice. Like
project.
A whole underneath the fields irrigation system.
Yeah.
Or you mean irrigation boxes.
Underneath the field so that they had clean water and everything for the schools.
Oh shit, that is dope. Wow. Because I guess to preface my next question, then, one of the main motivations for me getting into comedy, have you seen Dave Chappelle's special For What It's Worth? Of course,
yes.
Okay, so if you guys don't know, it's Dave Chappelle's second special, the lesser known of his first 2. And he does a bit in that special that motivated me to want to do comedy. The bit's called "How Old Is 15 Really?" Do you remember that one? It was about the smart Elizabeth Smart girl, the one that got kidnapped and got stuck in a house and something, and like people were looking for her. And one of his punchlines was like, "I guess she wasn't so smart after all," because she was stuck in there for like, I don't know, days, weeks, or whatever. But he juxtaposed that against an 8-year-old girl who got kidnapped, another part of the U.S. Got kidnapped at 3, was back at home at 8, watching herself on the news. Like, she chewed through the ropes and got herself out, called her family, and this girl put her brain to use. And then he juxtaposed that even further to a case where it was a 15-year-old boy in Florida who was practicing wrestling moves with his neighbor on the roof. I don't know why they would be on the roof, but that's what they were doing. And anyway,
it just sounds cooler.
It sounds cooler, except for the fact that he tried one move. The older gentleman fell off the roof, died, and they gave that 15-year-old boy life in prison. So the overall punchline is like, if you can give a 15-year-old boy life in prison, I think it's okay to pee on him, because he juxtaposed all that stuff back to the R. Kelly case, and the girl was like 15, being able to make a decision. And I think that was something that motivated me, because not only was that shining a light on injustice, but it's also like a real kind of logical, like, look at this closer. And then it was still funny to it. So, like, that's the kind of comedy I think I want to have at the end of the day, because that's the thing that made me want to get into it. That kind of awareness, that kind of, like, real social lens of what's going on in the world, while also keeping it funny and digestible.
And with a beautiful form, just like when he did and I cooked her in a pussy, like, at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And it just wrapped up perfectly. Like, it was a perfect callback, and you didn't see it coming. He's brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, he's still one of my favorites. It's not only just storytelling, having a message in comedy, keeping it funny. How do you want your comedy storytelling to evolve? Like, at what point do you think you'll be able to look at what you're doing and be happy with what you accomplish, if you're not already like that? I feel I'm a person that needs to work to be happy with a certain level of quality. How about you?
Well, I'm considering my 3 years. I'm happy about my journey so far.
Okay, 3 years in
stand-up.
Only stand-up, right?
Only stand-up.
Okay.
But, in the beginning, I was more about joke writing, right? So it was a lot of random topics, and I like stories, but, I like to... They say if you have an idea A, go for the idea D. So I was trying to do that.
Yeah.
And I like to I like imagery a lot, like I say, and play with words and concepts and all. But now that I'm more confident with my work, so that's why I'm starting to open up more. Like in storytelling, it's easy because it's already vulnerable in a theme. Yeah. But it's only recently that in my stand-up I talk more about real issues and real topic that matters to me, like really close to my heart. So I still have those little bits, like some jokes that somebody else could tell. It's not personal enough that I find them funny. They've been working, but I wanted to make it more personal as I evolve in my set. So.
How do you think at a certain point then that there's a possibility that you could lose I guess that personal connection with your art, or I guess outside of always telling a personal story, are there other ways you can keep it, whether it's stand-up or storytelling, like an art that it's close to you, just outside of personal storytelling? I know it's
never gonna be just that anyways, but I think it's the best platform for me to be free. When you do acting, you're not the one who write the script,
right? Unless you are, like, only two people do it,
but even that, it's still that's what's so liberating about stand-up, is no one, like, if something does bad, you don't report to anyone. It's really you, and the more shows you do, the more each show is less important. As far as, you remember when we just started and you do 5 sets and one of them was a little more rough, you thought that was the end. But when you do like 500 shows and more, then one is like, it was a rough night. But there's something beautiful about stand-up that you can always get back up, and as long as you don't deal with... Anyways, there's other stuff behind stand-up too that's hard. It's not just about writing the jokes, about getting booked and where to go and clicked and politics and stuff, which I try to stay away from anyways.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm not in that age group anyways, you know, like
I mean, luckily, like,
like, you know, I don't have to smoke weed with the cool kids to, like, you know, like, or, you know, like, I'm just saying there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm saying I'm kind of not really part of,
you know, anything.
Not really, and it's not that I have anything against it, but I mean, I do my set, I go back home, I have kids to feed.
No, that's a beautiful thing.
You know,
you don't
like
have to worry about sitting around blowing smoke up a guy's ass just so you can get a better spot the next week and stuff like that.
I try not to. I mean, I'd like to hope that my work speaks for me. You know, I always believe that friends will get you booked, but skills will get you further.
That's a good way to phrase it. I totally believe that too.
And I hope people see that, but either way, it brings me joy when I do it, and so.
Sorry. All right. Now, since you are a mom and you talked about this, what kind of effect or what do you want your kids to see from the art you are producing now? What do you want them to take from it? What do you want them to? What kind of effects are you hoping, if any, that your children will take from?
I think the effects already started.
Okay.
I have 2 sons, and well, here's one story, one example. Okay. Yeah. I was paddle boarding with my oldest, who's now 9 years old.
Okay.
And he said something funny to me, so I laughed, and he said, "Mama, I really love making you laugh, because one day I'll know that I'll be able to make my wife laugh the same way Papa makes you laugh."
Oh, wow.
So to me, that already is, because everything I want as a parent, he's feeling it right now, because I do comedy, it takes an amazing supportive partner. You know, a lot of people don't understand that. Well, it also depends on how you perceive comedy. You know, there's a lot of people think it's just a hobby. For me, it's my career that I'm working on.
Yeah.
So all the costs that I put, let's say for traveling, when I pay something at a bar, when you try to support the venue, you know, the patron, when you, even like speeding tickets, even parking tickets in DC, you know, from all the performance, my husband knows that it's an upfront cost. It's just, if I started a business, you would have to like invest in inventory and the place and staff. But this is, for me, it was like the best business as far as, when you do there weren't many liabilities or investment up front, right? It's just me, my branding. I go out there.
It's your time, your energy.
It's your time and your energy, yeah. But if I quit, I don't have all these inventory I have to sell or get rid of.
True. It's something you can just, you know, hey, I did it once.
Exactly. But he always understood that. He always supported. And he even said, like, you know, people always ask him, like, how's it like to be like to have your wife go out and perform, you know? And sometimes people talk as if it was like karaoke or like bar hopping, or, well, you're not good enough, she leaves you at home. So my husband would say things like, I'm not supportive, it's just common sense. If she was a doctor working night shift, nobody would judge her. But because she works night shift doing comedy, then now I should have a problem, so I become a saint because I'm supportive? No, any man would just be normally supportive. And that's how he sees it. It's not even being supportive, it's just normal. You know, just like like traveling too. Like sometimes I go out on comedy and on comedy shows and people ask me, "Where's your husband?" But you know, you go out, guys go out, and nobody asks them where their wives are. You know, but somehow I'm supposed to always be linked to. I'm someone's property, right? In a way, and even if we think that we're modernized, we're progressive, people still have that old school mentality. You know.
Well, I mean, I have seen your husband go out with you to a good amount of shows. Are those people that ask you that sort of question used to possibly seeing him out with you, if not for comedy, for other things, or is this just a random? Oh, you're
no. They even give me crap for him not coming to all of my shows, which I'm like, he'll come to my real showcase, but I mean, I don't expect him to come to an open mic, and even that it's on weekend and he wakes up early anyways. But it's not take your husband to work anyways, you know, like.
I mean, who are these people asking?
Oh, you have no idea. I have so many.
It's like, who did you bring here?
A lot of people ask me the weirdest stuff.
House later. Then get the fuck out of my face.
A lot of people ask me the weird stuff. But what I mean is like comedy has been already impacting my kids because, because they see, I'm all over the place.
No, you're good.
They see, because they see mommy doing comedy, then they're already feminist by nature because they say women can do things. Like they see it, you know, like with that, there's something more powerful than words is action. They see it every day. They see my husband support me.
You have a working model.
Exactly. At first we had some struggle, you know, because when my husband would say, go have fun, and my son didn't understand, then they would think, oh, mommy's choosing fun over us.
So, shit. So, he wasn't saying it sarcastically. He was being serious.
No. When they're 7 years old, it's hard for them to fully understand. So now we changed it. Now my husband would be saying like, all right, good luck on your work. And you're saving the world one joke at a time. It's like doctor, but it's therapeutical. And now the kids are different. Because even at school, before my first teachers conference, one teacher thought I was a stripper because my son told them, Mommy puts makeup on and goes on 2 bars at night. So the first time I met them, they were like, oh, you're a comic. I'm like, yeah, because they didn't know.
Shout out to all the sex workers out there going through the struggle right now too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that either, but I'm just...
Exactly. I support all y'all. All titties matter to me at the end of the day, regardless if they're on stage or on stage with a pole. Cool. I guess in terms of family, then how would you say they motivate you today to keep creating?
The kids, or like just everything. You don't know your values until you have kids. You're not really aware of them until they'll say something, and that's when you really realize, oh crap, like this is not acceptable. Like that's when the best test is when somebody says something to your kid. That's how you really know who you are even more. Like your value already, but the core, like what's really close, what really hurts.
Yeah.
I discovered it once I had children, like even more strongly. Because when couples fight, it's really a clash of values, even in a parenting style. That's how you were brought up. That's how. So by having children, that helped a lot with my comedy because then I had a better sense of who I was, what I wanted to talk about, what matters to me.
True. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say having children are good for comedy. And I think just as important is having like a solid anchor in like in a relationship or in like a marriage. It sounds like your husband, I've met him a couple times at
He's
least.
Pretty cool.
Good dude, very supportive. I don't see him complaining about why are we here.
Oh no,
never.
Anything
like that. And I think like my girl's pretty solid too. Like
she's cool. Did you guys go to AwesomeCon this year, by the way?
Yep, we were there Sunday.
Oh, I missed it. I missed it this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for the audience, we saw Justin last year at the AwesomeCon. That's why we're talking about this. But
oh yeah, we had a good time too. I picked up a couple of things. I got that Bruce Lee art over in the corner,
nice.
Like a dude, and I'm probably gonna go next year to pick up some more art. But it was a very good experience. That being said, like my girl's a solid anchor though. Like in terms of before we got into a relationship, I explained to her what comedy was to me,
right?
And it's gonna be the number one priority no matter what, because everything else falls from comedy. If I want to support a family,
right,
it's coming from comedy. I can't have that be a number 3,
right?
Because it has to be my focus if I want everything else to fall under that to be supported. But she's been very supportive of me too, and I appreciate that. And I think it's
she knows you're serious,
Yeah, I'm here doing this.
Right.
she's in the other room waiting for me to finish. So it's like, yeah, like this.
Because that too, some people will do it for a bucket list. Some people do it for fun. And there's nothing wrong with it. But there's different, there's different involvement in comedy. It depends. But you're definitely serious about it. So it's great that you get that support.
Yeah, and same for you. It's just good. It's good to hear that. It's not. It could be an altruism at this point, or at least that feeling or philosophy that having a strong anchor is good for you. Because I think your husband being very supportive, being able to take care of kids when you're going out to do stuff is something that a lot of people would.
He's hands on. It's amazing. But I also got lucky that I started when my kids were older. They brush their teeth on their own, and we say go to bed, they'll go to bed. It's not like when they were a baby. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So I was done with that phase. Right. I was fortunate that I started at a very good time, actually.
Cool. Okay. I guess my last couple of questions for you. First one is want to ask everyone goals. So you're into so many different things. I imagine to a degree they have to compete along with like your family and stuff too, just for like time. In terms of goals, like what are the, when you're looking back in life, ideally you're on your bed, just flipping back through the photo album of life.
Right.
What are the main 2 things you want to say you've been able to accomplish in terms of creation, art, whatever the field is?
I can summarize everything in one sentence.
Oh shit! Make it a long one for the podcast, but.
Well, we can talk about other things if you want. But my main goal, and it's in a nutshell, is I want to work until I reach the level where I no longer need to be introduced.
From your work or from being a cur? Because I think to a degree you have that a little bit from...
Just for the Cambodian community, but for my work.
And any specific medium?
Just as an artist, whatever platform I use, I don't think they need to be separated. I'd love to have like a one-woman show one day, maybe, or a talk show, because then that would intersect every field I enjoy. Talking to artists, musicians, making kids showcase their talents.
True.
Like that would be having a cooking show, because I am a home chef also, and to me that would be great. So either like a talk show or but either way, like as long as I get to do it, because that's part of who I am. I didn't start painting to become famous. I just painted because that was therapeutic. I mean, a lot of things I did was to avoid killing myself when I was a teenager. Seriously, it sounds very dark. My parents were so strict. No, it sounds
true as shit.
I couldn't do anything, and then there was so many cultural clashes and generational clash. I mean, my grandma raised me, so there was like 2 generations behind. There was a lot of expectation. There was a lot of arranged marriages that I had to fight also, which that drives me crazy. People see my husband and he's Cambodian too. They always assume it is. So that was one of my first jokes I made, because I wanted to make sure people knew that I picked him.
So that person was right.
Oh yeah.
Whoever she looks like she wants to choose her own husband. And
all of that is yes, I did.
In a good way. I don't mean it in a bad way. No, I know. Jokes on you, kid.
I know, but it's you have no idea. There's so much. So.
True. Is there So what I'm understanding is that you want to be.
Just want to be me.
As a Picasso. I mean, you want to be you, but at the end of the day, it'd be nice to be like. There's Prince, there's Picasso, there's Pryor, there's Carlin, and then there's Kerr. Like you want to
that would be great.
That same kind of breadth of notoriety. However you get there is how you get there. And then on top of that, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you're a person that believes in art sharpens art. So if you're working on one,
it helps everything.
Working on another.
It's all connected.
That's beautiful to hear. All right. Okay, so last question. You have a breadth of experiences in life, in art, and all those things that could really be considered separate things, but I think there's going to be an interconnectedness, obviously, between them, whether it's from your muse or that they're all, creations.
Right.
What's one piece of advice, or what's the biggest thing you've learned from all of your experiences as a creator of things that you would want to share, or you think it would be good for listeners to hear?
First of all, nobody else has your voice.
Okay.
It's only you. The most beautiful things I find is when people are really just honest. There's nothing more beautiful than things that draws from the truth. Whether it's in art, when music, it's connecting. It's a connection. When you watch a painting, what makes it different? When you watch like a contemporary art that makes a statement, like an activist message, you watch it, it really hits a chord, right? Versus when you just look at a plant and a potter. And it's nice too. Some people can connect, like but what I'm trying to say is, if you connect with the plant because you like it, that's where the connection is. If you don't like I'm just saying, if you
a cannabis plant, preferably, but
But if you really care about it, if you're really passionate about something, people will feel it. Like I don't know. I just think just be yourself, and it's really not that serious. And if you do make a mistake, in the end, nobody cares anyways. So, it's true though. No one does. Like no one cares that much. We're all,
True. Well, I think like we're all are you your own worst critic as well? I definitely am.
Yeah, of course. But I'm just saying, like, it's very serious, and it's not that serious in the end either. And once you balance those two things, people will be okay. It's not just artists or comedians, just in general. I'm just talking in general.
True. Man, that sounded Eastern as crap. And I mean
like, that shit that Asian chick said, like.
Oh, that's gonna be the name of this podcast episode. We can hashtag shit. I'll bleep out shit writing it so your kids can see.
Yeah, iTunes.
Asian chick said. All right, Davine, man, it's been
great. Thank you for letting me talk without like this was fun.
I know I'm not like most men. I'm not just gonna cut you off and say hey.
No, that was really great. I'm really thankful for this show. That was great.
Nah, you were a great guest, man. I learned a lot personally. You put a lot of great things out there. Didn't know as much about your story as I thought I did, and that was only like a snippet of a sliver. I know there's a lot more to it. So, I mean, I hope to have you on. I mean, as long as I keep this going, I'd love to have you and
please
a couple other guests back on again. But for right now, I'm going to let you be free. Get back to being, I don't know, you're not a tiger mom, so I guess...
No, it's actually Cambodian New Year's this weekend, so I have to do a lot of festivity. And
Well, so, let me get you get back to having fun Cambodian style. All right, guys. Where can they find you, Davine, upcoming? One last thing. Yeah.
Well, you can see my stuff on my website, www.davine... Why do I say that? DavineComedy.com, pretty much. And there's if you go on show calendar, you can see all my upcoming shows. Okay. And all the stuff I do, like my art, my cooking, it's all there.
Instagram, Twitter?
Instagram, Twitter is Davine DC. Davine DC.
Cool. Okay. And you guys know you can find the podcast on Instagram at On The Grind Justin Brown. You can find me at Black J Brown on Twitter and Instagram. Davine, again, thanks for having you on.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Hey, guys, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Until then, take care.